It's quite a story. A California community has been thrust into the national spotlight after a teacher taught her kindergartners a lesson about being transgender because one of the young students was transitioning. The lesson upset some parents who say that they really would have appreciated a little heads up that this was going to happen in the classroom, and that it left their children upset, some of them, and confused about all of this because they are 5 years old. For her part, the teacher says that she meant no harm.
What I will share over and over again is how proud I was of my students. It was never my intent to harm any student, only to support them through a difficult situation.
So this has caused a sharp divide within this community. My next guests have children at this school, and they're so fearful about retribution in their community for not being okay with this that they have asked us to disguise their faces and their names. So for the purpose of this interview, we will call them Marianne and Susan. So Marianne and Susan, welcome. I can't believe that we live in a world where not being okay with this has put you in such a difficult situation that you can't show your face. I think that says a world about what we're talking about here. So Susan, tell everybody what your experience was with your child. She was read a book about transgender. A child in the class is transitioning, wants to be seen as a girl now. What was her reaction when she came home that night?
So we were not told about the book or anything by the school. I actually had to interview my 5-year-old about what happened in class, because when I asked the teacher, she told me that I had to ask my daughter. And so we were still confused about what had actually happened, but we did find out that the book I Am Jazz was read. And so a couple nights after, my daughter was taking a bath, and she got up out of the water and her hair was slicked back, and she saw a reflection of herself in the drain in the bathtub, and she started shaking and crying because she thought that she looked like a boy. And she was like, "Mommy, I don't want to be a boy. I turned into a boy, Mommy. I don't want to be a boy." And it was watching her go through that I realized that this lesson that was taught to my child was not a lesson about acceptance or love. It was a lesson that caused her to have a lot of fear and confusion, and she was actually taught that she could turn into the opposite sex. And that is what really troubled me. I really wish that I had had the opportunity to talk to her about this first, and even the opportunity to opt out, and maybe keep her home for the day if they had to discuss it.
I mean, obviously you should have that choice, and they should have told the parents. Apparently the policy is that if they're going to talk about sex, they have to let the parents know. But if they're talking about gender identity, they can hide that from you and not share that with you. So Marianne, your daughter made the grave mistake, you say, of calling this child, and nobody wishes any ill on this poor child and what they're going through, but she called him by the wrong name, right? And got in trouble?
Yes, that is correct. She saw the child on the playground, and she said hi to the name that they had gone to school together the entire last year, and he had had one name for kindergarten. And then he was reintroduced at the end of the school year by a new name, a girl name. And though she's not in his class this year, they saw each other on the playground, and she ran up and said hi to him by the name she knows him as. And she was reprimanded on the spot. And then later that day, she was actually pulled out of her classroom and sent to the principal's office to discuss what had happened.
The school says she was not reprimanded. Student B was not punished or disciplined in any way. The student and the principal simply had a conversation, like conversations that would happen. Did she feel that she was reprimanded?
Absolutely. I met with the principal following the incident. She again said that she was not reprimanded. She was not punished in any way. I disagree. I mean, I agree that she wasn't formally punished, but to a small child to get pulled out of class.
Yeah. Oh, you feel like all eyes are on you and you're in trouble. And absolutely. I'm almost out of time. Susan, I want to ask you a quick question. What's the response been from other parents who don't feel the way that you do? Why are you not allowed to speak out and show your face?
I think that this is a really polarizing issue, and people want to make it about a specific group of people, and that's really not what it's about. It's really about, I think any parent would want the right to know what their children are learning in school, and the right to be notified if topics of anything like sexuality or any other controversial issue is talked about.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, obviously the focus in school should be on learning. They should be working on reading and all of the things that kindergartners are supposed to work on. And if you want to have these conversations, I would imagine you'd like to have them at home with your children, as we all do, when you feel that it's age appropriate. Susan and Marianne,
absolutely.
Thank you both for sharing your story with us tonight. You're brave, and you've spoken out. So we'll be following it. Thanks, you ladies.